Hey guys, Rex here. There is no need for you to take ground fire or to run into obstacles that you could easily fly over the top of in your airplane in life. And many people have not discovered the magical stick of going up higher. Okay? So if you are, or if you know somebody who continuously runs into low altitude obstacles, like if your plane has a bunch of pine needles stuck to the windshield, that tells me you didn't find the stick to go over the top of the pine trees. If your plane has arrows stuck to the bottom of it, it told me where you were flying. Like if a 747 lands and it's just full of all sorts of spears and arrows, where the hell were you flying? So that's one of the things we covered last month in August on a Patreon channel. I'm going to read some of the stuff you might have missed if you're not over there, so they can share some of the top peaks of what we discussed in full. Each one of these I'm going to read was a full discussion, like a half hour long, usually on average, maybe longer. On Patreon, we do like multiple posts per month, like dozens and dozens, maybe 50, 70 posts per month exclusively on Patreon. If you've never seen it, you should check it out. Okay, so that was our second post. Go up. We had another one followed by that called Speed Limits, which is, I'm not going to get into that here. That was on Patreon, not talking about how you must obey the speed limits like from a normal perspective. We're talking about higher order levels of these concepts. We talked about the human body and the temple, okay? The human body and the temple, like explored. Man, there's a lot of stuff there that we miss when we read too fast, or we assume, it's just religious artifacts. It doesn't mean anything. Those are ancient models of how stuff works. Here's a funny one. Methuselah's Prophecy Hour on Antediluvian TV, rated PG-13 for 3 naughty words. I did say, I'm sorry, I said 3 naughty words in that video. Methuselah's Prophecy Hour. You guys flip through the channels at the hotel room at night, and then you hit like 4 or 5 different Bible prophecy shows. Yeah, I think they had those before the flood too, where people were entertained by the prophecy, and they probably interviewed Noah on their show and were like, "Tell us more, Noah. When is the flood going to hit?" "Oh, you see, it's going to hit in about 25 more years, and it's going to be terrible. I got my boat mostly complete. We're still in the final phases of, sealing up the wood or whatever, like installing the water tanks." And they probably interviewed him, and half the world was probably really excited about, wow, it's going to be crazy when this flood judgment comes. Like, when it's coming soon, people. But what was the problem? None of them got the point of the warning and stopped doing their wicked, evil ways. They just continued to be bad, and they all died. That's what's happening today. Like the Bible prophecy as entertainment hour rather than as waking you up, saying, we probably better adjust what we're doing so we don't get in huge trouble. Did that ever occur to anybody? Oh, no, we're perfect. We're perfect. I'm sure that all those guys were perfect back before the flood, too. They never did nothing. They were probably extremely religious. They probably memorized lots of verses from the text preceding that. Okay, we have some Zulu lessons, official lessons. I'm not going to share what those are here. That's top secret for the Zulu training class on YouTube. By the way, if you guys missed out the train with Rex years ago, all that stuff is on Patreon now, all of it. And those are the pre-vetting filters I use for in-person training, which we do still. I don't know if you guys know that. Hey, we talked about different ancient models for standoff and safety distance, talking about how to survive the conundrum of Earth. Another one we did, he convinced Grok the biblical flood reality. So this was something, I actually shared this from another outfit about people messing with the AI stuff and getting it to confess to reality, which is pretty funny. Can we talk about that a little bit over there? I'm going to be talking about that more. I've been doing a long-running experiment since it's been coming out. Now, guys, listen to me. Some of you guys are kind of dense, And when I am on my comedic old guy with a cane, shaking my cane at technology, you whippersnappers and your gizmo traptions, you don't understand that I have the full mental capacity to understand technology as well. And I'm just telling you that from a guy who looks at it from a skeptical point of view that doesn't trust stuff, it's funny. It's funny the status it gets, and it's funny the obliviousness it gets in areas where it actually is a problem. Okay? So, to summarize, most AI is a BS generator. Most of it. It's mostly what it does. Why? Because all it knows is what's on the internet. I know everything. Not everything is on the internet. Did you know I have books that I cannot find on the computer? And I use all those super engines. Like, that doesn't exist. I'm like, weird. I have a book from 1887 that has that in there. It's not in there, is it? Well, it's not on the computer, so it doesn't exist. You might as well get a giant, huge auditorium of 14-year-old high schoolers together with iPhones and then just announce on the microphone, hey, guys, what's the best way to organize X, Y, and Z? And they'll all Google it, and then they'll tell me the answer. Same exact thing. That's literally what that is doing functionally, okay? So we're going to be talking more about that in the future here. What does this picture mean to you? Sometimes I'll post you guys quizzes and pictures to see if you can see between the themes. Next to do training there. Most people just kind of stumble through life, mouth hanging open, drooling, not knowing what the hell's going on, not noticing stuff right in front of their face, not understanding they're being bamboozled and brainwashed and, just like completely deprogrammed and reprogrammed. Yeah, so sometimes we share things like a picture to see who catches what. Okay? So we do a lot of training over there on how to not become like them. Okay? To retain your humanity and the organic critter that you're supposed to be. Now, some of you might be arguing in your mind, but Rex, what about this? I see that you used a computer once. You ever hear of John Connor? Huh? You ever watch that movie? I'm not going to say any more than that. Okay. Computers are not my friends, just so in case you didn't know. What does this, there's nothing implied there. I'm a peaceful, happy man in my peaceful, happy area, and I'm only going to raise tomatoes and potatoes and carrots. And that's, but I'm just saying that, like, figuratively speaking, in terms of your conscious effort in life to, like, remain to be human, I will assist you in that very strongly. All right. So we had a level 3 post. Where to find the light switch to reveal the edge. Okay. So this is something, we do some high-end training there on issues that are compartmentalized within training blocks. I can't talk about that one here. You guys will not understand. It's okay. VSL, alphanumeric codes. Oh, no. So in a little bit higher of a training level, we talk about alphanumeric codes. Some of you guys don't understand the programming you have in your religious experience, in your theological experience, and you just knee-jerkingly react to certain things. If you don't understand what they are, you'll associate it and conflate it with things you don't know what they are. And you won't notice where it's a thing that happens through the whole text the whole time and is used by all your favorite people in that book. So we talked briefly, I didn't talk about that on the channel yet. That was the precursor video, the teaser for the concept. We're going to get into that probably this month here, okay? We had a movie review on a Cecil B. DeMille classic film in which I thoroughly share my appreciation for the actual good use of film and screen for purposes that are benevolent and respectful in intent, that will not completely melt your kid's brain if you watch it and supervised with them to explain, okay, that part's not actually what happened. That part's like just kind of like a love story. But man, is it an awesome flick. Okay, so we do a movie review there. We have the Zulu Q&A, the blunt truth of the Antichristos and our attitudes, those who preserved the word. Couldn't talk about that on YouTube. There would be a collective conniption fit I want to be responsible for. For the cool thing about Patreon, guys, it's a more filtered audience. We know that the people who are there want to be there, and they have the ability to understand and listen to things that might be outside their window, their Overton window of experience and perception, and so that they can maybe hear some ideas that might challenge their worldview. Okay, so we'll look for high quality people. We enjoy high quality people's company there. We have RX Classroom on log resolution, how to actually properly take scientific notes to duplicate on paper with your pen what actually happened in reality on the range. Now, this applies to anything. You have to be able to communicate exactly what happened so that you can come back 40 years from now and having forgot that day, you assume you're going to remember everything. You will not. Certain details will escape you or they'll mix together in the pot. So we explain the log resolution needed for scientists doing lab work, such as the range lab. Like a ballistic laboratory, you have to write everything down. You have to log everything, okay? We talk about not fearing the Reaper. What is the Reaper? It's an acronym. I don't know if some of you guys caught that on Patreon. It is an acronym. Oh, man, relentless. We talk about the 119 mile an hour winds that we had in North Dakota here, discussing what is going on. 119 mile an hour winds here. Again, it's crazy. We had sustained winds over 110 miles an hour for 3 hours, like the month before that. What's up with that? Q&A on powder for the 50 BMG. I'm going to do lots of questions and answers. I'm not going to answer pointing object questions outside of that venue in the training class there, because I can ensure they're responsible people. How about this? VSL, how to kindly explain to your folks that you're on a path that's different than the rest of the world, but it's not bad. What we call that you're set apart from the world, doing stuff different. Most people, when they don't understand or haven't seen something, they fill it in with their imagination, which is usually bad, based on their daytime TV show experience or whatever their uncle told them. And they just have no frame of reference. So how do you kindly explain your position without trespassing? Because we're not supposed to be swinging swords, attacking windmills like Don Quixote in a Crusader's uniform. That's not the program we've actually inherited. I don't know if you guys ever knew that. But that's what my church told me. Okay, well then you do it. How about this? Another one talking about some tools we used for the disaster deal. I think that one I did share here. The tools one I did share on YouTube publicly. How about this one? Tearing, now the title says it all. Tearing the innards out of the computer with your teeth like an angry tiger. And then a big crazy smiley face. I will repeat, the computer is not necessarily my friend. I have empathy. Some stuff, guys, it would be faster and more efficient to do it with a freaking crayon than it would be to try to upload the program to do it. Or to have the program understand what you're trying to get it to do. Just give me a ruler and a crayon and some grid paper, and I'll give you the right answer way faster. How about this? Dig this. This is how far we've fallen down the hole, and it's only going to get we just started our fall into this hole, guys. It's going to get way, way worse. I'm talking, you have no idea what's coming around the corner for these kids. They're going to completely sign away their creativity in their brain. Just gone. There was, once upon a time, I was coaching some sports, and they're trying to vote for who gets to be the captain or whatever on the deal a couple years ago. And these are grown ladies, actually. And I was coaching, and they're like on their phones, like, oh, like there's an app, I think, and they're looking for the app for like a half hour, and I'm standing there, and I'm like, what exactly are you guys doing? Well, we need to vote, so we need to have ballots, but there's an app for ballots so we can vote, but nobody knows who voted because they wanted to do it anonymously. And I'm like, haven't you ever heard of a freaking hat before? A hat? I'm like, you guys ain't that much younger than I am. How about this? Write down who you're voting for and fold it in half and hand it to me with a pencil. I'm like, huh? Oh, yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah, I know. I know it's a good idea because it'll be way faster than you finding your app, uploading it with no upload speed, and then figuring out how to work it, and then you're still digital record. This, I can take the stuff home and burn it so none of you will ever know. And so within 30 seconds, they all hand me the papers. I counted them. One vote here, tally it up. Yeah. So tearing the innards out of the computer with your teeth like an angry tiger. You have to have an attitude of John Connor to reject the gravitational pull. Now, you can boomerang off that gravity and make a lot of cool stuff happen if you have discipline. We'll talk about that too. Some tools are incredibly powerful. Like, you can literally be Mozart with the stick in 5 minutes nowadays with the stupid computer stuff. If you're disciplined, you can point that in a good direction. You can still be creative through advanced tools, just like when they invented the electric guitar with the wah-wah pedal, with distortion pedals and amplifiers, and it became a new art form, right? So you have like, the tube amplifier and all the different tones on your stuff. Like, there's just new tools coming out today that they didn't have, but you have to have discipline to manage those. Otherwise, you should always have the attitude, though, not to sign over. You just having the tool doesn't make you smart at all. Usually the contrary. It can make you less smart if you rely on it too much. Ready? Weather modification. I did talk about that here too on YouTube a little bit. Quote, beliefs. The official Zulu rant. Now that one was so ranty and so angry, I had to put it at the second highest level on Patreon to filter it out because it was like, and I'll just give you the gist of it. People are real quick to tell you all the stuff they believe in. Okay, well then demonstrate that. They're full of it. A lot of times, not everybody. When dark entities are disturbing your sleep at night. Now, I posted the picture from this one here of the ghost of Hillary Clinton hovering over some poor dude's bed. And he's like, oh my gosh, to get the point across. Do you worry about stuff like that? It's a cartoonish depiction. We discussed it here. Do you worry about stuff like politics? Do you worry about World War III? Do you worry about the economic collapse? Do you worry about the interest rates? Do you worry about all this stuff? Do the dark entities keep you awake at night? If they do, we need to have a serious talk because there's a different perspective that you can have and see the wide angle view of how the universe is put together. And it's not actually that scary if you have perspective. What are they going to do? Take away your birthday? Come on. We're just applying 80s kid logic to normal 2025 life. I know it's crazy, and I know most of that's illegal. Dig this. A year or two ago on Patreon, I posted a more thorough version of it. Remember that movie Ernest Saves Camp? It's like, a kid's movie. I watched it. There's the part where they're gearing up to fight the bad guys, the kids at the camp. And I counted how many laws they broke in that movie, breaking into whatever, creating spears out of a canoe or paratrooping turtles. That's animal abuse. It's just funny. So the times have changed a lot since the 80s, guys. Stuff that was normal back then, crawling around in the back window of the Ford Galaxy. You'd go to Guantanamo Bay if you did that nowadays, wouldn't you? Yeah, so it's different. So if you like the old days and want to retain as much of that as possible in your heart, you'll really enjoy the company on Patreon. Because we try to do it. I didn't used to think that it was old school, but apparently it is now. And it's funny, people that are older than me and the old guy generations, they're the same as millennials or Zoomers or any of that stuff now. Same exact thing. Same emotional operating system, same crybaby status, same vulnerability to ego and all this stuff. Oh, I thought it was a thunderstorm. It was a grain truck. Okay? So, yeah, like, just your age does not determine what generation you're in. Did you know that? Your operating system does. RX Classroom questions and answers on octagonal bores. That was a fun one. I had to study a little bit on that one historically to kind of see, okay, I never thought about that. Because I know a lot of stuff that exists, but what is the trend? So we had a good discussion there. That was in the RX Classroom. Zulu official notification. We did social and physical proximity, distance, and altitude rules for how to set up your mags. So you guys, a lot of you guys have like maybe assistance group, a family neighborhood group or a church group or a camping group or like your buddies or like preparedness kind of stuff. 99% of what most people focus on in those things, in my opinion, is kind of benign. Because you go for the Hollywood shit. You're not going for the important stuff like social and physical proximity. If you violate the laws of proximity, you're going to wear people out quick. If you don't understand what trespassing means, you're going to lose people, you're going to wear them out quick. If you don't understand mutual respect, love, asking questions, listening as much as you talk, things like that, I'll tell you what, that's the battleground for you. That should be your training. And it is our training. In our Zulu training class is a serious training class in those regards. I do not want to edit the video if someone drives in here. I think we're good. Okay. How about this one? VSL. How cool. This is a powerful one, guys. How cool will our worldly status make us on Judgment Day? Did you ever think of that? You ever beat your head against the wall trying to earn whatever thing it might be? Shiny objects, certain color things, like certain whatever, like PhDs. Why do people enslave themselves to other people's expectations in their imagination that nobody actually cares if you get a PhD or whatever, or if you're, had this super cool job or had this super cool experience, or if you just came back from oh, wow, let me tell you about the people of Botswana. I did this thing. In your mind, it might be really cool to be a 5-star general of the Pentagon or whatever. But in reality, your kids and your family and the people that actually matter in this world do not care. You think it's cool? So we often put ourselves in situations we're not supposed to be in because of a failure to identify the principles in which we're supposed to live by, and a failure to understand those traps that we've been warned about in the law. All right, how about this one? Why the contrarian is not wise. This is a PG-13 for uncouth language syntax. Again, I talk straight with the guys on Patreon. And the contrarian is the guy that's just got to always kind of be different. So whatever the status quo is, he's just going to have different opinion. That's not wise, guys. That's not scientific either. Your observations should actually match reality, not just the opposite of what someone you don't like said. A lot of people's operating system is revealed as purely emotional because they'll simply pick a point contrary to everyone who ever made them mad. When your opinion on situations, facts, and different matters and observations changes at the flip of a hat because you like something or you don't like it, if your opinion changes on what you like or not, or someone you like or not, that quick, that tells me really quick where your operating system is. Highly emotional, susceptible to the feelers, right? Got to be careful of that. We talk about the ultimate lyrics of all time. I am but a worm. Okay. We have questions on people talking about different, from an artist's point of view, what is being communicated in some of these concepts. We misread lyrics all the time. I was talking to someone the other day about an Alice in Chains video from the 90s, a song. and I'm not going to say which one. We'll do that if we want to do that on the other one. Artists will often make points that are seemingly contradictory within the frame of the story to the main point they're making. Even Paul does that in his letters. He makes all sorts of points and then comes back and beats them up. Like, I absolutely don't do this, right? And rocks guys will do that sometimes too. All right, kuhump. You ever hear that term? Come out of her, my people. It means living not just the city behind. You don't just leave the city. You don't just leave the highly populated, built-up areas. That's great. It's talking in the book, if you read the details, if you understand what is being said there, from their point of view, consistent with the rest of the entire book. When it says, come out of her, my people, it's talking about leaving your old self behind and your attachments to the things of that world. Don't leave your heart there. So you can move into the deep, dark forest and still be the exact same critter you were when you were in the city. That's the point it's actually making. And that's something we discuss in our training, far above probably what most of you ever heard, maybe in most circles. Some people that I know do a good job explaining that, a few, right? But not. So if you find this to be helpful, please join us. Shared a cover someone did of one of my songs. I was flattered to see that. That was kind of cool. They did the Dawn of the Day guitar line that I did years ago. I thought that was kind of neat. Just shared that to encourage them to keep playing guitar. Error, solution. That's a funny one on VSL. Talking about, if it's funny the stuff that we say that we are into, or the things that we say is like the way stuff is. When you actually write it down, it's so totally self-contradictory. Completely self-contradictory. People have no idea basic logic. I don't know if they're trained in it. I think it's the education system. The education system tells you what to believe. It does not train you on how to think critically. It does not train you on how to make observations and see what makes sense. To test things, God forbid. Even science class does not train you in science. Science is a process of testing and evaluating what's actually happening to see if your observations match a reality that can be verified. But in school, that's not science. In school, they tell you what to believe. Whole different ballgame, okay? There is a place for that because we have made collective observations that are very grounded, but don't call it scientific process, okay? Keep religion in religion and keep science in science. You know, they can mix in ways that you might not understand, because they do. But they should have harmony between each other. Tesseract 2.1, the full body of instruction. The system has been defined. So this is untangling a giant rat's nest that exists in a certain corner of religiosity, I guess you could say, where guys are in like the enthusiast crowd for like the entire book. I tell you what, guys read over stuff so quick. Like when it says like, here's your blessings and curses if you keep the law and the ordinances and the statutes and the way therein you must walk and the work you must do. There's multiple things. Like the entire body of instruction is not just the skeleton, which is the law. The rest hangs on it. The rest fleshes it out. But I'm telling you, that's a huge malfunction that we're going to have to get over if you want to understand the fullness of the program of anything. That's what, 2,000 years ago had to be explained to certain people because they were rotting flesh in coffins on dead men's bones full of all corruption, because they didn't understand that same thing. But we do the same exact thing. All right. Quiz. The key to almost every first world problem. You know how much money you could save if you knew the answer to that quiz? Millions of dollars. All of it. You could save 90% of your wasted expenditures. Your time that you could be with your family would increase, 10,000%. Not joking. You ever been outside America? Do you guys know that we are literally quite like the rest of the world thinks that our lifestyle is insane. We're crazy. Why? Because you want stuff you don't need and you're trying to beat the Jones all the time. That's expensive. Is that what's important in life? How shallow are we, man? Very shallow. Harmony and grace within the band. All the band members have to work together. And if there's one guy that wants to be the only guy seen and heard on stage, it's never going to work. The showboat, oofta. So we talk about that. And when we're talking about, I'm not talking about bands. I'm talking about any human system or group or relationship. It's a fact of life. Question and answers on the Tesseract series video we put out, because there's lots of questions on that. And we answer the questions. By the way, if you ever have questions on these, I spend most of my time in Patreon answering questions on video form. So if you ever want to have a discussion, some of the classrooms require your actual participation for me to answer you. But yeah, that's the place to do it. Matching your BDC to reality, talking about ballistic drop compensation, how the concept works, what's the logic there, how to tune stuff quickly and easily. Why blue? What's with the beard? And what does he want us to do for work? Another example of we think that what we do for our job is important for your physical work. Why? Ego and human points. You want to be able to tell somebody you got a cool sounding job. That's about as far as that goes. I have no difference in respect for the lady that works at the ice cream store for 20 years and barely makes it by in some apartment with 10 cats than I have for a 5-star general or an admiral or a spaceship commander or the freaking president of Indochina. I don't care. That's not how people are measured. That has nothing to do with the person's stature. In fact, you can tell what's actually important to people by what they chase and what they pursue. That demonstrates their actual gravity is what they've actually spent their time chasing. That tells you their disposition in reality. People are so full of shit. They can say, oh, I believe this. But then why did they do this whole time? For decades and decades and decades and decades. Why? What's the primary gravity over there? Oh, I see. Everyone's problem. You think that what you do in front of other men, you'll be seen of men as being tough and scary and cool and awesome and smart and all that stuff. Wasting our lives. Missing out on the actual gold. You need to be free of that bullshit. I'm telling you guys, there's gold that we do over on Patreon that will, if you're not too late, man, you could save a lot of pain and heartache. If you just heard some of the stuff I wish people had told me 20 years ago. Some of it they never could have told me 20 years ago. I had to go through it. But if you at least have a map sheet, when you do encounter these things, maybe you'll learn faster. That's why it's important what Solomon says, when you see wisdom, I want you to dive onto it and grab it and buy it and never, ever get rid of it. Never sell it away. Never give it away. Like, don't just give it up. Keep it forever. He would know. He had all that stuff that everyone else thinks they want. He had all the status. He had all the stuff. Snakes on poles. You guys remember that story? I cover that in full detail in the language and where some of those deals come from. That's a really interesting. That's one of the stories that tripped me up the most about in the old days, is when they put the snakes on the pole, and you can see how the medical symbol's kind of a transmutation of that. It's like the Greek version, because that other stuff happened before Greece was even a country. You know that, and then it went there, right? So yeah. Objectivity, the key word for honest and proper interpretation of anything. How to actually be honest in interpreting things and seeing things. Do we follow their rules as long as it's not against the book? A rant on the proper authority. So a lot of you guys get bent around the axle on wanting to fight the system because in your brain, through the propaganda you've received, you think that that's what he wants you to do. again, we need to be more careful with our instructions and see how there's different realms and domains, guys. He gave us the answer right in plain English even. It comes across in the plain English just fine. We talk about that. We have more Zulu training. We have Sei rulers and other. We did one on allegiances. We have, here's a couple days ago on the 28th of August, we had Rex's new Master of Pronunciation contest. Do you know somebody who, honest to God, thinks they're superior because they can pronounce, how about this? They think they can pronounce foreign words better than you in a language they actually don't speak? Yeah, so we're having a contest on that. All right, if you think that our rank is achieved by pronouncing certain, like, people just virtue signal so bad all the time. Like, oh, Iran, like, you didn't say it right. It's actually Qatar, Rex. It's not Qatar. It's actually not that either. Just give you virtue signaling drives me nuts on that stuff. Like, you don't speak the language. How would you know? You're just repeating what the obnoxious news lady or the professor told you. Plus, that would be dumb on top of it. Americans are funny like that because we think there's virtue in, like, knowing 3 or 4 words from a different language properly. The rest of the world's like, we all speak like 4 languages because they need to. That's one of the follies of the empire. When you get so much horsepower, you only have to speak your language. You become decadent really quick, really dumb really quick. Spoiled rich kids of the world. Thinking the whole place is our playground and that our obliviousness doesn't smell bad to everyone else after a few generations, right? So we have the Master of Pronunciation contest. You can join us on Patreon and watch that one. I was laughing really hard when I watched that. It was funny. All right, VSL, man versus nature. Oh, boy. Just the modern catastrophe of our entire perception of how stuff should be. We're just terrible, man. It's funny. Like how we think we can just choke slam nature and make it do what we want it to do when it would have been way easier just to cooperate with it just kind of a little bit. No. We're smarter because we have science and technology, right, guys? And then we started our series again on the detailed series on the actual laws that are listed in the book, this section on employees, servants, and slaves, and what the principles and gravities are there. So, if you enjoyed that, before this fly gets any closer, if you enjoyed that, please join us on Patreon. I'll leave a link for you. We have a lot of fun. And if you haven't seen it, then you have no idea what we're talking about. But you're missing out, man. You should come hang out with us. Just wanted to share that with some of you guys. Have a good day, Rex out.